Chosen one. Listen closely. This is not the first time heaven has tried to reach you. This is the second time. The same words are returning. The same fire is stirring. The same unseen presence is pressing upon your heart. You feel it, don't you? That undeniable pull in your spirit. That quiet but relentless whisper saying, "This is for you." Heaven is repeating itself because you didn't respond the first time. You thought it was coincidence. You thought it was just another message scrolling past your screen. But heaven never wastes repetition. When God speaks twice, it means mercy is extending one more chance. You are standing in a divine moment. The kind that only comes when time and eternity collide. The reason this message has found you again is because heaven refused to let you miss it. The first time, you were distracted. You told yourself you'd come back to it later. But now, everything in you knows this is different. The atmosphere around you feels charged, heavy with purpose. Even your pulse quickens as you read these words because something deep inside recognizes the voice behind them. You've heard it before. You've ignored it before. Yet heaven's love is relentless. And that love has come again. Not to condemn you, but to reclaim you. You see, when God repeats himself, it's never for his sake. It's for yours. It means there is still time. It means the door hasn't closed. It means mercy is knocking again. The first time was an invitation. This time, it's an awakening. You are not reading this by accident. Heaven is orchestrating every second of this encounter. There are people who wish they could hear God as clearly as you are hearing him right now. The tug you feel in your chest is not emotion. It is the sound of your spirit, remembering its assignment. The divine realm is echoing around you, calling you by name. It is saying, "Chosen one, your silence has lasted long enough." Oh, this message is the sound of heaven, refusing to let you drift away. It is not anger that brings this word again, it is grace. For the same voice that called you before is calling you again, stronger, louder, and closer than ever. The Spirit has been patient, but now he is persistent, because your purpose cannot be delayed any longer. Everything around you has been aligning to bring you here. The closed doors, the strange dreams, the feeling that something is shifting inside you, none of it was random. You thought heaven was silent, but heaven was setting the stage for this second call. And now the moment has come where you must decide. Will you answer this time? Or will you let destiny move on without you? Chosen one. I know what it's like to hesitate. I know what it's like to wonder if the voice you're hearing is real. But look at your life. The signs are everywhere. The patterns, the timing, the sudden urge to seek truth again. Heaven speaks twice when the assignment is too important to miss. You are not just another soul in the crowd. You are a carrier of divine light, marked to bring change wherever you stand. The Spirit is saying, do not turn away this time, because the same message that came before has now returned with weight. Heaven is reminding you, every delay carries a cost, but every obedience opens a door no man can shut. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 9, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor mind conceived what God prepared for those who love him." Do you see it now? The repetition isn't punishment, it's prophecy. Heaven is confirming what was once whispered. God is saying, you still have wings, you still have purpose, You still have time. So, chosen one, rise, lift your eyes, let go of the fear that made you pause before. You are hearing this again because the second call carries double anointing. The first was for awareness. The second is for activation. Step into it now. Don't let this pass. If these words stir something inside you, if they feel like truth pressing against your ribs, then heaven is speaking to you. Don't keep this moment to yourself. Let the sound of obedience echo through the world. Like, share, and comment 777 below as your prophetic act of agreement. And subscribe, so that this divine flow continues to reach your heart. This isn't just engagement, it's alignment. It's your yes in motion. Because when heaven says it twice, it's not a reminder, it's an appointment. You remember the first time heaven whispered this to you, don't you? It came quietly, through a dream. A message. A stranger's words that pierced deeper than they should have. But you brushed it off. You told yourself it was your imagination, or just emotion. Yet now, the same message has returned with unmistakable clarity. Heaven never forgets the soul it has called. The truth is, you heard it before, but you ignored the call. You didn't mean to. Life was loud, and fear was louder. You tried to convince yourself that you had time, that you could answer later, that God would wait until you were ready. But the weight you've been feeling lately, that sense that something is unfinished, is heaven's way of saying, you left something undone. This is not condemnation. This is remembrance. Heaven is reminding you of the assignment that once burned in your spirit before the world numbed it. You have felt disconnected because you walked away from something sacred. You thought that silence meant he had moved on. But the truth is, heaven only waits until the right moment to speak again, and that moment is now. You didn't ignore out of rebellion, but out of exhaustion. You were tired of believing without seeing. You were wounded from trusting and being let down. The fire that once burned inside of you dimmed under the weight of disappointment. Heaven saw that every tear, every silent night, every whispered why was recorded. And yet, even through that silence, your name never left God's breath. Chosen one. The call you ignored did not expire. It only matured. Heaven doesn't cancel purpose because of delay. It refines it. What you thought was wasted time was actually preparation. Every delay has been teaching you discernment. Every loss has been purifying your motives. Every silence has been deepening your faith. The reason this message has returned is because you are finally strong enough to hear it properly. There is something holy about this moment right now. You can almost sense it, a thin veil between heaven and earth, and your spirit standing in the middle, trembling with recognition. This isn't nostalgia, it's alignment. The same God who spoke before is speaking again, not because he forgot, but because you are finally ready to remember. You once felt called to more, to lead, to heal, to create, to stand apart. But the world mocked that call, didn't it? They told you it was too much. They told you to calm down, to be realistic, to fit in. So you buried your fire under practicality. But the problem with burying divine fire is that it doesn't stay buried, it burns through the soil, searching for air. That's why your peace has been restless. That's why nothing else satisfies anymore. Heaven's voice is reclaiming what was once surrendered to fear. You are being reminded not of something new, but of something ancient, your covenant, before you ever failed, before you ever doubted, before you ever hid. Heaven already wrote your destiny. This message isn't about repentance for the sake of guilt. It's about restoration for the sake of destiny. God isn't reminding you of your past. He's awakening your future. And now, as you stand in this second encounter, heaven asks a single question. Will you still say no? Because this time, silence would be rebellion. The delay is over. Heaven is speaking again. And this time, it expects an answer. According to what is revealed in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8, the Lord goes before you and will be with you. Fear not, nor be discouraged. Let those words settle over you. This isn't a distant promise. It's a direct confirmation. The plan you thought was lost has only been waiting for your obedience. Heaven never scraps what it designs. It simply repositions you until you're ready to carry it. Every disappointment has been part of that repositioning. The truth is, your detour was divine. You think you strayed, but heaven says you were redirected. The lessons you learned in the shadows have qualified you for the light. The voice that returns today is not reminding you of your failure. It is reminding you of your foundation. The same God who called you before is now calling you again. Not because you deserve it, but because you are chosen. So, chosen one. Do not grieve the time you lost. Do not fear the call you ignored. Heaven has rewritten the schedule to meet you right where you are. The moment you thought had passed has arrived again, right on time. The whisper has grown louder now. Chosen one. What once was a faint echo in your spirit has become a roar in the distance, drawing closer with every heartbeat. The message you ignored before is no longer waiting quietly. It is pressing upon your very breath. Heaven has turned up the volume because delay has turned dangerous. You can feel it, can't you? The tension between what you know and what you fear, between what you were called to do and what you've been settling for. This is not just emotion, it is spiritual collision. Heaven is refusing to let you live beneath your design any longer. There was a time when you could silence the call, when distractions were enough to drown it out. But now, even in your sleep, your purpose calls your name. It follows you in silence, in stillness, in the spaces between words. The first call was gentle, an invitation. The second was a warning. Now the third sound is a command. You were never meant to stay comfortable. The fire that burns inside you is not meant for survival, it's meant for transformation. Heaven is roaring through the corridors of your destiny, saying, "Wake up, chosen one. The time for hesitation has ended." Then, you have been sensing a divine restlessness, haven't you? That unshakable feeling that something must change soon. That's not anxiety, it's activation. God is stirring what's been buried. The Spirit is agitating the waters of your life because stagnant waters cannot carry glory. You must understand, when heaven speaks again and again, it is not because it forgot what it said. It's because your purpose is on a timeline. The window of divine alignment is open now, but not forever. Every moment you postpone obedience, darkness celebrates. And every moment you choose to listen, light expands. The spiritual atmosphere around you has been charged for days. It's as though creation itself has been waiting for your response. That's not exaggeration. That's scripture being fulfilled. For when a chosen one awakens, the world shifts. The second message was mercy, but this third one is movement. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." Heaven is saying, the appointed time is now. What once was distant prophecy has become living reality. Every word ever spoken over you is standing at your door, knocking. And this time, you must answer. The vision is demanding your participation. Chosen one, this is not the season for hesitation. This is the moment to rise, to step beyond excuses and cross the threshold of obedience. You are being reminded of something eternal. Destiny does not chase comfort. Destiny chases courage. The light within you has matured through pain, through pressure, through waiting, and now, heaven demands its release. There's a war happening around you, light pulling, darkness resisting, and the decision you make today will echo in eternity. Do not mistake the discomfort for punishment. It's preparation. God is shaking everything that can be shaken, so only what is unbreakable remains, and that unbreakable thing is you. It's no coincidence that this word found you in this exact moment. Heaven's timing is perfect. You are standing at the intersection of remembrance and responsibility. Every delay before now was grace, but now grace becomes guidance. It will no longer just comfort you, it will command you forward. So, hear this. Chosen one, you can no longer wait for perfect clarity. You must move while the voice is still fresh, while heaven is still repeating itself. This is your appointed hour. Everything you've lost, every wound you've carried, every unanswered prayer, it's all been preparing you for this revelation. You were born for this moment. And now, as heaven hovers near, a call resounds, not for your applause, but for your agreement. Comment, "I receive it." Let that be your declaration, not as ritual, not as superstition, but as alignment. When you type those words, you are not just engaging a screen, you are acknowledging your covenant. You are declaring that heaven's repetition will not be wasted on you this time. You are saying, "I receive the correction. I receive the calling. I receive the courage." Those 4 words are your signature on heaven's contract. Every time you declare it, the atmosphere around you shifts. It's not about visibility, it's about victory. So now, breathe deeply. Chosen one, feel the air change. Heaven has drawn near again because your destiny demanded it. You are not here by coincidence, not reading this by accident. The same voice that spoke worlds into being is speaking your name again. And this time, you will not ignore it. Chosen one, do you feel how this message keeps circling back? Like waves that refuse to retreat, heaven speaks twice, even 3 times. Not because it doubts its power, but because it knows the stubbornness of human hearts. It is mercy that repeats, not weakness. Every repeated word is heaven's heartbeat echoing across your resistance. You must understand this. Repetition in the divine realm carries weight. It is the language of urgency and confirmation. When God speaks once, it is instruction. When He speaks twice, it is affirmation. When He speaks thrice, it is destiny. You are living inside that third moment now. The repetition around you is heaven's way of saying, the matter is settled. Perhaps you've noticed how the same symbols, numbers, and phrases have followed you lately. Certain verses reappear. Certain memories resurface. That's not coincidence, it's divine coding. Heaven has a way of speaking in cycles until comprehension breaks through. You are not under spiritual confusion, you are under spiritual review. Heaven is making sure you do not miss the meaning this time. When a message from heaven returns, it does so for two reasons: to confirm identity and to correct direction. The first time God spoke to you, it awakened your heart. The second time, it tested your loyalty. But this time, it is shaping your next chapter. The voice of God is no longer outside of you, it is forming inside of you. You are learning how to discern not just what God says, but how He says it. The repetition teaches you rhythm, how heaven breathes, how purpose unfolds. You are being trained not to panic when the same lesson returns. It is not punishment, it is preparation for permanence. Heaven is anchoring truth into your spirit so deeply that it can no longer be shaken by noise. The Apostle Peter once denied the voice of the Lord 3 times before hearing it again. Restored with grace. You, too, are being restored through repetition. This is not a restart, it's a resurrection. Heaven has waited for the moment your heart could finally absorb what your mind once rejected. That is why you are hearing it again. You may wonder, why didn't I understand this before? Because revelation matures with obedience. God doesn't hide truth. He times it. Every delay in comprehension was divine protection. If you had grasped this message too early, it might have become pride instead of purpose. But now, after everything you've endured, you are humble enough to hear, wise enough to recognize, and strong enough to carry it. Do not despise the cycles of repetition in your journey. When heaven repeats, it is chiseling something eternal inside you. Repetition is heaven's way of engraving truth upon stone hearts until they turn to flesh again. Each echo is a hammer, shaping the vessel until it fits its divine function. You are not being punished for missing it before. You are being privileged to hear it again. This second, no. This third encounter means heaven still sees potential in you. God could have gone silent. He could have moved on to someone else. But He didn't. That silence you once feared has been broken by a familiar sound, the same voice calling you by name. It's easy to think that repetition means stagnation, but in the Spirit, it means acceleration. When God says something twice, it is established in heaven and earth. Remember Pharaoh's dream of repetition in Egypt's time? Joseph interpreted it not as redundancy, but as divine urgency. Heaven repeats only when it's ready to perform. The ancient words recorded in Genesis, chapter 41, verse 32, remind us of this truth. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. Oh, heaven is speaking to you with that same certainty. It will be done soon. The matter concerning your life has been decided. What seemed uncertain before is now fixed in divine timing. The second call was mercy. This one is manifestation. Chosen one. This is why you feel the stirring increase. The repetition is not meant to frustrate you, but to finalize what heaven started. Every confirmation you encounter now, every repeated word, every familiar phrase is a signature of divine acceleration. Heaven is reminding you that your waiting has not been in vain. It has been the womb of revelation. The message is clear. What God has spoken over you will not need to be repeated again. This is the last time the reminder comes in this form, because after this, the fulfillment begins. Heaven does not linger in cycles forever. It moves once the heart is aligned. And your heart, though scarred, though tested, is finally aligned. Do you see the beauty in this repetition? It is God's way of ensuring that when the shift comes, you won't call it coincidence. You'll recognize it as covenant. Every time the same word found you, it was heaven whispering, "Don't miss it." And now you haven't. So stand still. Breathe. And let this truth settle deep into your soul. What is spoken twice by heaven will soon be seen once on earth. Chosen one, you are standing at the narrow edge where heaven's mercy meets heaven's movement. The message that was once a whisper and then a call has now become a command that touches every fiber of your being. You have crossed the threshold between wondering and knowing, and now all that remains is action. The divine voice has not come this far just to leave you unchanged. Heaven does not waste its echoes. The reason you are hearing this again is because you are meant to become not only a receiver of revelation, but also a carrier of it. You are the bridge between what heaven declares and what earth experiences. The same word that reached you through these messages must now move through you. Imagine a seed that's been rained on twice but never planted. It swells. It softens. But unless it's placed in soil, it never grows. That's what repeated revelation does. It prepares you, waters you, softens your heart. But the planting, that's obedience. This is the moment where heaven is handing you the seed again and saying, "Now, sow it." You've heard the message. You've felt the stirring. You've even wept under the weight of conviction. But now, the next step is participation. Heaven is not only speaking, it's inviting you to build. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Every tear you've cried in private has been watering something sacred. Every act of faith, no matter how small, has been sowing into a future where divine harvest awaits. And now, you're being called to sow again. Not just emotionally, but intentionally. Think of it like a river. When the river flows freely, everything along its path flourishes. But when it's dammed up, the waters stagnate. The Spirit's movement is much the same. It moves best through willing vessels, through those who not only receive the flow, but help it reach others. Every like you give is not just a digital gesture, it's a whisper of agreement, saying, "Yes, I'm here. I hear heaven too." Every share is not just a click, it's a bridge, a lifeline extended to someone who might be where you once were. And when you subscribe, you're not following a person, you're connecting to a prophetic stream, ensuring that the flow continues to reach you and those who need it next. And when your heart feels stirred to give, to donate, to support, it's not about transaction, it's participation. It's as if you're placing your hands over the soil of God's work and saying, "Let it grow through me." Every seed given in faith becomes a story of transformation in someone else's life. You may not see it immediately, but heaven sees it all. The algorithms of earth count numbers. The algorithms of heaven count hearts. What you give out of love multiplies far beyond what any platform can measure. There are those who will watch this message today, trembling on the edge of giving up. And your one simple act of support could be the bridge heaven uses to reach them. That is why the call to action is holy. It's not marketing, it's ministry. When you lift this message higher, by engaging, by supporting, by letting it flow, you are saying to heaven, "Use me." You become like the hands that held up Moses' arms when he grew weary, hands that kept the battle in favor of light. Remember this, when heaven repeats itself, it's never just to be heard, it's to be carried. The words you've heard today are not only for you, they are for every soul waiting on the other side of your obedience. The stories of light spreading across the world don't begin with grand gestures. They begin with hearts like yours, choosing to take small, faithful steps. So whether you plant a seed, share a message, or simply stay connected, know that you are part of something divine. This is not just a ministry, it's a movement of mercy. And heaven is watching how you steward what you've received. The light inside you was never meant to stay trapped in your chest. It was designed to set others ablaze. So, let it move. Let it flow. Let heaven see that you not only heard the second message, but answered it. Chosen one. Your obedience here, your willingness to help this light reach beyond you, is the proof that heaven did not speak in vain. Keep the fire moving forward. Like, share, subscribe, or give, if your heart feels led, not for reward, but for resonance, because every ripple of faith creates waves that touch eternity. The message that found you twice now travels through you, and because of that, it will find another. You have felt heaven's repetition echoing through your days like a heartbeat, steady and sure. And now, chosen one, heaven reveals why. This second sending of the message, this familiar stirring in your chest, it is because you bear a mark. The mark of the called, the branded soul, who cannot vanish into the background no matter how hard they try. You've wondered why you don't blend in, why peace feels incomplete in ordinary places, why certain rooms grow heavy when you enter. It's not pride, it's presence. You carry something sacred, and even the unseen world recognizes it. You've been marked by heaven. You may forget it at times, but darkness never does. Every storm you've endured wasn't random, it was a response. The enemy saw the seal on your spirit before you ever did. That's why you've faced resistance that others never knew. You've survived battles that didn't make sense. And yet, here, you are still breathing, still chosen. Heaven has preserved you for this moment. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. You may have felt forgotten, but that's the mystery of the mark. It hides you while it builds you, like Moses in the desert or David in the field. You were hidden so that your anointing could mature away from public eyes. And now heaven says, "Come forth. The time of hiding is ending. Chosen one." Your life has been full of strange timing. Just when you thought things were over, something small, a dream, a phrase, a word sparked you back to hope. That wasn't coincidence. That was heaven's whisper guiding you out of shadows. The repetition of divine signs around you is heaven's way of saying, you are still in the plan. The mark you carry is not visible ink, it's spiritual identification. It means you are protected differently, tested differently, and sent differently. Others may walk in ease, but you walk in purpose. Heaven keeps close, watch over its marked ones, because their delay can shift destinies. Every time you tried to go back to normal, heaven disrupted it. Every time you tried to fit in, discomfort followed. Why? Because the chosen cannot shrink into comfort without shrinking their crown. The weight you feel is not punishment, it's proof of identity. Even now, you can feel the stirring, that strange awareness that something unseen walks with you. You are not imagining it. The same presence that marked prophets, apostles, and warriors has brushed across your life more than once. That is why you could not drown in despair. That is why the fire did not consume you. Heaven preserved you like gold hidden in ash. But being marked is not only privilege, it's responsibility. When heaven identifies you, earth watches you. Every step you take becomes a signal. Every word you speak carries weight. You are no longer just living for yourself. You are walking evidence of divine mercy. The second message wasn't a reminder, it was an activation of that mark. So now, heaven invites you to acknowledge it openly. Let your spirit respond with humility and certainty at this very moment. As you read these words, type 444 in the comments below. Why 444? Because 4 represents stability, foundation, and divine establishment. The triple repetition is heaven's way of confirming that your foundation is now sealed in divine order. When you comment that number, you are declaring, I accept my mark. I stand on divine ground. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. It's heaven's mathematics written in faith. That act of public agreement may seem small, but it is prophetic. It anchors the unseen into the visible. Just as Noah built the ark in obedience to a whisper, you build faith with each declaration. When you type 444, heaven hears. This one remembers. No, the repetition of numbers in your life, the way they show up on clocks, receipts, and moments, it's not random. It's language. Heaven is fluent in symbols. And 444 is the echo of establishment of foundation being restored, of a chosen one taking their rightful position. Do not underestimate this act. You are aligning with a frequency heaven has been repeating since the day you were born. This is your moment to agree with destiny, to acknowledge before both realms that you have heard and answered. The mark of the chosen burns brighter when obedience is public. Let the heavens record that you did not hide when called the second time. You heard the whisper, recognized the seal, and said, Here I am. Oh, and as you do, know this truth. The same God who marked you will move through you. The seal that sets you apart also shields you. Heaven has said it twice, and now your spirit says it once more. So it is established. Chosen one, it is time you see your past differently. What you once called rejection was not punishment, it was protection. Every closed door, every sudden ending, every unexpected detour was not a failure of heaven's promise, but the fulfillment of it in disguise. What felt like abandonment was divine redirection. You see, heaven watches from a higher vantage point. What looks like a cliff from where you stand is often a bridge from where God sits. The paths that were blocked were not meant to crush your hope, but to reroute it towards safety. every unanswered prayer, every silence, every no that broke your heart, each was a shield dressed as disappointment. There were people you prayed would stay, but heaven removed them because they could not walk with your purpose. There were opportunities that glittered like gold, but heaven knew they were traps lined with thorns. You did not lose, you were saved. You have no idea how many invisible disasters you were spared because God said no. We are reminded through the words in Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9. In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Think back for a moment to the seasons that broke you, the friendships that dissolved without reason, the doors that slammed before you could explain. You cried out, asking why the timing never seemed right, why opportunities fell apart at the last moment. But now, as you look back, can you see how every detour has kept you alive? How every heartbreak purified your discernment? Rejection was the womb of revelation. Had those things worked out as you wanted, your heart would have stayed in places that could not carry your calling. The silence of heaven was not absence, it was strategy. God hides his yes inside his no. Chosen one. Heaven's protection doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes it strips. Sometimes it shakes. Sometimes it leaves you standing in the middle of what feels like loss. But loss is often the language of liberation. You were never meant to settle for the imitation of purpose when the authentic one was still forming. Your path has been carved by unseen hands. Every delay you cursed was buying time for preparation. Every betrayal that shattered you was heaven's way of separating poison from your circle. You may not understand it, but God never wastes a cut. Each one becomes the shape of your destiny. You were meant to be misunderstood because understanding too early would have kept you small. The divine pattern always begins in confusion before it reveals its beauty. Think of Joseph in the pit, Esther in the palace, Ruth in the field. All looked abandoned until their alignment was complete. So do you. Heaven's protection often sounds like silence and feels like emptiness. But silence is how heaven hides its surprises. And emptiness is how it makes space for glory. Every time you thought heaven had gone quiet, it was actually speaking in a different frequency, the one that only trust can interpret. You were never outside of God's sight. Even in your lowest moments, grace stood guard. When you walked through danger unknowingly, angels escorted you unseen. When you begged for doors to open, heaven whispered, if only you could see what's behind them. Now, the veil begins to lift. You start to understand that what you lost was never meant to stay, and what stayed was never meant to harm. The divine choreography of your life is revealing itself piece by piece, and you stand amazed at how even pain had purpose. Chosen one. Your journey has been a tapestry of divine interception. Heaven's no has saved your future more times than you can count. And though you cried, heaven smiled because the Father knew what you didn't. That protection is often wrapped in confusion until hindsight unwraps it. Now, you can breathe differently. You no longer carry bitterness toward what didn't work. You carry gratitude. Every unanswered prayer becomes a song of thanksgiving because you now see the pattern. You realize that heaven has never been against you. It has always been ahead of you. Chosen one. Rejection didn't destroy you. It refined you. You have walked through a maze that only heaven could map. And though it made no sense, then every turn has brought you right here to understanding. to alignment, to peace. So rest now. Knowing this, you have never been forgotten. Every silence was a sentence in heaven's story. Every closed door was an angel's hand, turning the lock. Every detour was divine protection, guiding you home to purpose. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every divine journey when mercy pauses and the air grows still. Heaven, though infinitely patient, does not wait forever. You are standing in that fragile place now, the threshold where opportunity trembles, where obedience is no longer optional but essential. Mercy has walked beside you for seasons, whispering reminders, orchestrating divine encounters, repeating the message again and again. But now, heaven's tone changes. The repetition becomes sharper, clearer, almost weighty, as if eternity itself leans closer to hear your response. When heaven waits too long, the rhythm of grace begins to shift. What once felt like soft calling now feels like holy pressure. It isn't anger, it's urgency. Not the urgency of punishment, but of purpose. For every delay in your obedience, creates delay in someone else's deliverance. Heaven's plans are connected. Your yes unlocks doors far beyond your own story. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 12, verse 25. But I, the Lord, will speak what I will, and it shall be fulfilled without delay. For in your days, you, rebellious people, I will fulfill whatever I say, declares the sovereign Lord. Those words aren't meant to strike fear, but to awaken reverence. Heaven is saying, the time of preparation is complete. The time of fulfillment has come. You've been carried by grace through doubt, hesitation, and confusion. But now, the season of decision has arrived. Think about it every time you ignored the gentle nudge. Heaven didn't withdraw. It whispered again. Every time you delayed, the Spirit came softly, patiently, as though time was infinite. But heaven's patience is purposeful, not endless. When mercy pauses, it's not abandonment, it's accountability. It means the next move is yours. You have been given signs, subtle and strong, dreams that lingered longer than usual, random encounters that spoke to the exact worry you were hiding, scriptures that appeared twice in one day. Heaven is repeating the language of destiny because repetition is its final warning before reality shifts. There's a sacred silence that falls when heaven stops explaining, when the same word has been spoken enough times. The next sound will not be instruction, it will be movement. Things will start shifting around you, relationships, routines, inner peace. It will feel like disruption, but it's divine realignment. Heaven moves when you won't. Don't misunderstand. God's love never leaves, but His timing does. When grace transitions into action, those who hesitate often find themselves watching the promise unfold without their participation. You were meant to be in the center of this movement, not on its sidelines. Mercy, pausing is not rejection, it's protection from stagnation. Heaven cannot allow eternal assignments to be buried under human delay. You've been given enough reminders, confirmations, and chances. Now heaven looks for response. Do you feel the stillness that has entered your days lately? That strange quiet in your routines? The unusual distance from things that once excited you? It's not depression. It's divine detachement. Heaven is disconnecting you from distractions that cannot follow you into the next chapter. Many mistake this silence for emptiness. But silence is heaven's final classroom. It teaches discernment without noise. It prepares the soul for weightier responsibility. You are in that classroom now. The Holy Spirit is no longer explaining what you already know. It's testing whether you will obey what you know. This is how heaven trains generals through stillness that demands trust. The prophets of old knew this weight. When the heavens paused, they didn't panic. They positioned themselves. They understood that silence from above meant something was about to shift below. And so it is with you. Heaven has repeated the message, confirmed it, and now rests its case. The next voice you hear will not be another reminder. It will be the sound of unfolding destiny. The pause is not punishment. It's the moment before divine motion. Chosen one. Don't confuse heaven's silence with absence. It's a sacred stillness before acceleration. The same voice that echoed twice is now whispering once, waiting for your step. Every time heaven repeats a message, it lowers the distance between word and manifestation. You are standing on the thin line between what was promised and what is about to appear. And here, in this quiet tension, heaven watches not to judge, but to witness obedience being born. When mercy pauses, miracle prépare. When heaven stops repeating, manifestation begins. This is that moment for you. The stillness is proof that heaven has spoken enough. The next sound will not be a whisper. It will be the sound of fulfillment. Chosen one. The silence you've been walking through has not been empty. It has been sacred. You may not have realized it, but heaven has been rearranging everything around you. In that quiet, the Spirit has been working behind the curtain, turning chaos into alignment, heartbreak into foundation, and confusion into clarity. You have been living in divine transition. Now, something begins to stir again. You feel it like wind before rain. A spiritual pressure that reminds you, heaven hasn't forgotten what it said, it's simply preparing to perform it. What once seemed distant begins to feel near. The promise, the word, the calling, they're moving toward you. You can sense that the waiting is almost over, but this moment is delicate, sacred, like the breath before dawn breaks. You are standing in the space between prophecy and fulfillment. The atmosphere is shifting. Heaven's timing is drawing near completion. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we endure." That verse was written for this exact moment in your life. You have not labored in vain. Every time you chose faith instead of fear, every time you kept believing when nothing made sense, heaven recorded it. Your endurance has become your offering, and heaven never overlooks a sacrifice made in silence. You are closer than you think. But right before breakthrough, resistance always grows louder. It's not because you're failing, it's because you're about to cross over. The enemy doesn't fight beginnings or endings, he fights thresholds. You are standing on one right now. The weariness you've been feeling lately is not from exhaustion, it's from spiritual stretching. Heaven is expanding your capacity to hold what's coming. You asked for greater faith. And this is how heaven gives it, by placing weight where there used to be weakness. Chosen one. Don't misread the pressure as punishment. It's proof of proximity. You are so near to divine fulfillment that even the air feels different. The shaking you sense isn't destruction, it's delivery. The labor pains of destiny always intensify before birth. This is where your response matters most. Not your perfection, but your persistence. Heaven doesn't need another promise from you. It needs your endurance. The miracle isn't in your striving, it's in your staying. Don't step away now. Don't grow cold just when the fire is meant to rise. The prophetic repetition you've been hearing is heaven's countdown. It's not waiting for your explanation, it's waiting for your affirmation. Heaven wants to know, do you still believe? Do you still trust that the words spoken over your life will not return void? So pause for a moment. Breathe. Feel that heartbeat in your chest. That rhythm is not just your pulse, it's heaven's reminder that purpose still flows through you. And now, in this sacred space, the Spirit invites you to declare your agreement. Comment, I still believe, and simple words, but powerful resonance. When you type those words, you're not just adding a phrase to a screen, you're echoing faith back to heaven. It's your way of saying, even in silence, I trust you. Even in delay, I will not let go. It's your covenant response to divine consistency. That phrase, I still believe, becomes your spiritual anchor. It declares that no storm has stolen your song, that no delay has dimmed your devotion. Every time you say it, you're pushing darkness back and strengthening the bridge between promise and manifestation. Heaven listens closely to words like that. Faith spoken out loud shakes invisible walls. You may not see it, but each declaration you make adds weight to the unseen scale of breakthrough. It's like a final drop of water filling a cup eventually. Overflow comes. This is not just about emotion. It's about endurance, alignment, and divine affirmation. By declaring, I still believe, you are positioning your spirit to receive what heaven is about to release. You're showing that even when repetition fades and silence stretches long, your faith remains unmoved. And do not underestimate the power of that faith. It's not fragile. It's not small. It's the same faith that moved mountains for prophets, opened prison doors for apostles, and turned mourning into dancing for those who waited in hope. Chosen one. This is your moment to hold fast. The final stretch before manifestation is always the hardest, but also the holiest. Keep your posture of trust. Keep your heart open. Keep your eyes lifted. Heaven has not changed its mind about you. The same voice that spoke in the beginning is still speaking now, only quieter, because it's closer. You are almost there. The repetition was the signal. The silence was the test. And this declaration, this act of faith, is your response. Say it again, softly, even beyond the screen. I still believe. Let heaven hear the sound of a heart that will not let go. Because the moment your faith stays when others fade, that's when the miracle finds you. Chosen one. You've reached a sacred turning point. The message that once came as whisper has become rhythm. The repetition that once felt mysterious now feels like melody. Heaven is composing something through your life, a song of restoration, of alignment, of divine purpose, fulfilled in perfect timing. You may not realize it, but you've become part of something larger than yourself. You are not simply listening, you are becoming the message. Every moment of obedience has turned your life into an instrument. Heaven can play through. The second time the message came, it was for your awakening. Now, it comes for your assignment. This is no longer about receiving alone, it's about releasing. What God has poured into you is meant to flow outward. You are the vessel. And vessels only fulfill their purpose when they pour. The more you give of what's been given, the more heaven refills. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed, shaken, running over, chosen one." Picture this: a single flame in a dark room. If that flame hides, the darkness stays unbroken. But if it shares its fire with another candle, the room begins to glow, and the first flame loses nothing. This is what heaven is inviting you into, the spreading of light through simple acts of obedience. Every time you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just engaging, you're expanding light. You're holding up a torch so others lost in shadows can find their way back to the same voice that found you. Think of it as ripples on a quiet lake. One movement creates waves that touch distant shores. You never know who might see this message and realize heaven hasn't forgotten them. And when you feel led to donate, to give from your heart, it's not a transaction, it's transformation. It's your way of placing your oil on the altar, saying, "God, let my part keep the flame alive." You become like the widow who brought her small jar of oil and watched heaven multiply it beyond measure. This work, these messages that come to you like living water, exist because hearts like yours have said yes. Every time someone shares, supports, or gives, they help carry heaven's echo into homes that would never hear it otherwise. You're not funding a screen, you're fueling a mission. You're sowing into a movement that brings the forgotten back to faith. Imagine a tree in a vast field. Its branches stretched wide. It gives shade to the weary, fruit to the hungry, and roots that hold the ground together when storms come. That's what your support does. It anchors the work, shelters the seeking, and feeds the souls who have nothing left but hope. And the beautiful paradox? The tree that gives never withers. The vessel that pours never empties. Every act of generosity you give returns to you in forms. You cannot predict peace in your mind, clarity in your path, restoration in places you thought were broken. Because heaven always multiplies what is sown in faith. These words you read, these moments where your heart trembles with recognition, they are not random. They are evidence that heaven is near, calling you not only to believe, but to build, to join hands with the invisible work of the Spirit by letting your visible actions echo heaven's purpose. So when you press that like button, when you share this word with someone who needs light, when you subscribe so that you never miss another whisper from heaven, when you choose to donate out of gratitude rather than obligation, you're doing more than clicking. You're building altars across the earth. You are saying to God, use me as a bridge for messages, for miracles, for mercy. And heaven always honors those who build bridges instead of walls. Every movement you make here, small as it seems, helps heaven's voice travel farther. Somewhere, a heart will beat faster, a tear will fall, a soul will rise from despair because you chose to let this message move through you instead of stopping with you. Chosen one, you are part of the divine chain reaction. You are proof that heaven's word never returns void, it multiplies through willing hearts. So let your yes echo louder than your fears. Let your actions speak faith louder than words ever could. The second message came to awaken you. This moment comes to activate you. You are no longer just the receiver of revelation, you are now the messenger of it. So go ahead, share the light, support the flame, and let heaven see that when it spoke the second time, you not only heard, you answered. Chosen one, you have walked through repetition, through silence, through divine pressure and mercy's pauses. But now, something deeper begins to awaken within you, memory. Not the memory of the mind, but of the spirit, the kind that cannot be taught or forgotten, only remembered when heaven touches the right place inside your soul. This is the moment when your inner self begins to recall who you were before the pain, before the fear, before the world convinced you to forget your divine origin. The veil that covered your remembrance has begun to lift. The confusion that once clouded your vision is thinning, and the sound you hear in the distance, the one that has followed you since childhood, isn't strange at all. It's home. You see, spiritual amnesia is real. The world teaches you to survive by forgetting your source. It teaches you to replace divine purpose with performance, to exchange your birthright for belonging, to silence the voice within for the noise around you. But heaven never forgets its own. The second time this message came wasn't just to remind you of your calling, it was to restore your memory. You were never ordinary. You've always felt things too deeply, seen meaning where others saw randomness, sensed storms before they formed. That sensitivity wasn't weakness, it was inheritance. Heaven wired you differently because your assignment demanded it. You are the one who feels first, so you can warn others later. The one who breaks early, so others can heal faster. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 9. Remember the former things, those of long ago. I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me. End or. Those words are not about nostalgia, they're about awakening. Heaven isn't asking you to dwell on the past, but to reclaim the identity you lost there. Before betrayal reshaped your trust, before disappointment muted your hope, before fear rewrote your story, heaven says, remember. When you begin to remember, it feels like fragments of yourself returning home. Small moments of recognition, a verse that once stirred your heart, a dream you used to carry, a spark of joy in something simple. These aren't random. They are breadcrumbs leading you back to your truest self. The one heaven crafted before life began rewriting your lines. Every time you sense déjà vu in your spirit, that's not confusion, it's confirmation. It's heaven saying, you've been here before, not in place, but in purpose. The call you're hearing now is the same one whispered when your soul was first formed. You were sent to earth with divine coordinates in your spirit. And now, those coordinates are lighting up again. The battles you faced weren't just tests, they were reminders. Each struggle carried hints of the mission you were meant to fulfill. Pain, in heaven's language, is not just suffering, it's signal. It draws attention to where power will later be revealed. That's why your life has been a pattern of extremes. You've felt joy and despair, clarity and confusion, closeness and distance, all within the same breath. You were never meant for balance. You were meant for breakthrough. Heaven has been stretching your capacity to carry glory without breaking under it. And now, in this sacred recall, you begin to understand the repetition. The message came twice because you had forgotten once. The echo of heaven's voice wasn't to irritate your mind, but to awaken your memory. Heaven was saying, "You've been chosen before. You were even aware you existed." There is a divine confidence returning to you now, not arrogance, but assurance. A deep knowing that even your detours were part of the map. You begin to recognize that your entire journey has been heaven leading you back to your original alignment. Chosen one. When memory returns, clarity follows. Suddenly, what once confused you becomes confirmation. The closed doors of your past make sense. The timing you questioned reveals wisdom. The tears you shed become testimony. You were never lost, you were being led. Even in your darkest seasons, heaven's hand never left you. It was leading you through forgetting, so that remembering could mean more. For what is grace, if not rediscovery? Now, your spirit begins to hum with recognition. You feel lighter, more awake, as if heaven has breathed into your lungs again. The fog of fear clears, replaced by the fragrance of faith. You begin to see patterns of divine handwriting across your story, realizing every detour was a lesson. Every fall was a foundation. Every delay was direction. Chosen one. This is the awakening of identity, the return of spiritual memory. You no longer chase what you already are, you embody it. Heaven's second message wasn't just for your ears, it was for your essence. So stand still for a moment. Let the waves of remembrance wash over you. Let your soul whisper, "I remember," for in that whisper, heaven hears the sound of restoration. Chosen one. The pattern has returned once more. You've seen it, heard it, felt it. The numbers, the moments, the phrases that seem to repeat like holy echoes around your life. Heaven has a language beyond words, and you are finally fluent enough in spirit to recognize it. The repetition isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven is saying again, "This is it, this is the moment." No, every time the same number, the same phrase, or the same dream appears before you. Heaven is coding alignment into your days. Divine communication doesn't always arrive in thunder. Sometimes it slips in quietly, through repetition that only the awakened can see. You, chosen one, are awake now. The Apostle John wrote in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 8, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, says the Lord God, who is, and who was, and who is to come, the Almighty." And that verse is heaven's way of saying, "I am the pattern, the beginning and the repetition." God speaks in cycles because eternity doesn't end, it echoes. The message you keep encountering isn't a new word, it's the same eternal voice circling back to make sure it lands in the right heart. It's not about luck, not about chance, it's about covenant. Every time heaven repeats a number or a phrase, it is heaven saying, "I haven't changed my mind about you. You may have doubted, you may have drifted, but the pattern returns to remind you that the promise still stands." The repetition is not random, it is rhythmic. Heaven speaks through rhythm because rhythm sustains what reason cannot. When you see the same number appear again and again, heaven is saying, "Stay in step with me. Don't rush. Don't stray." Oh, you've noticed it, how certain patterns come in waves. Seasons of repeated reminders, then silence. Then the same numbers return when you're about to shift. That's divine timing announcing itself. The Spirit moves in patterns to let you know that time is folding around your obedience. You are no longer just walking through time. Time is walking through you. Heaven repeats itself when something eternal is about to unfold. The first appearance of the message is mercy. The second is activation. The third, the one you feel now, is manifestation. The pattern has reached its climax. You are standing inside the fulfillment you once prayed for. Even if your eyes haven't caught up yet, look closer at your life. The circles you thought were cycles of frustration were actually spirals of growth. You've been rising, not repeating. Every time you faced the same struggle and handled it differently, you moved higher. Heaven never wastes repetition. It uses it to measure maturity. This is why you're seeing signs again. Heaven is not teasing you with mystery, it's confirming completion. You are walking into a new phase, and the repeated signs are heaven's way of saying, the old lesson is learned. The next begins. So now, in this sacred moment, heaven invites you to respond not in fear, but in recognition, to acknowledge that you've seen the pattern, that you've heard the repetition, that you've recognized the divine voice behind the familiar sound. Let this moment be your seal of understanding. Type 888 in the comments below. Why 888? Because it's the number of new beginnings, of resurrection, of divine completion, stepping into eternal renewal, where 7 marked perfection. 8 announces continuation, the start of something beyond endings. When you type 888, you are declaring, I receive the new. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. Heaven communicates through numbers, because numbers never lie, they align. When you make that declaration, you aren't just typing digits, you're aligning with destiny. You're saying, I've learned the pattern, I've walked the lesson, and I'm ready for what's next. Heaven sees that act as agreement. And agreement is the language of manifestation. Chosen one. These patterns will follow you for the rest of your journey, not to control you, but to comfort you. Each one is a reminder that you are synchronized with eternity. The repetition is the rhythm of grace playing through your life. So pay attention to the patterns. Notice the numbers. Recognize the timing. You are not being haunted, you are being harmonized. Heaven has sent this message a second time because now, finally, you can hear it for what it truly is, not warning, but welcome. You have entered divine flow, and flow never forces, it fulfills. The numbers you see now will no longer feel strange. They will feel like home, because you, chosen one, have learned heaven's language, and heaven always speaks to those who listen. Chosen one, there comes a point in every divine awakening when the past and the future meet face to face inside you. That meeting is not peaceful at first. It feels like war. The old you begins to tremble because it senses that its time is over, while the true you rises from the ashes, radiant and unafraid. This moment is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Heaven never resurrects without first confronting what must die. The confrontation with the old you is not about punishment, it's about freedom. The parts of you that once helped you survive, defense, pride, fear, control are now becoming barriers to your purpose. Heaven is peeling them away, one layer at a time. Every revelation you receive now is meant to separate illusion from identity. The Spirit declares, through the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 22, you were taught, with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires. Those words carry divine weight. Heaven isn't asking for modification, it's calling for metamorphosis. You are not being improved, you are being reborn. The second message from heaven wasn't meant to inspire your emotions, it was meant to crucify your ego. The old you fears surrender because it was built on fear. It learned how to defend itself, how to pretend, how to perform, just to be accepted. But heaven does not bless performances, it crowns authenticity. The mask that once made you safe now makes you small. The costume that helped you fit in now keeps you from rising. Chosen one. God isn't trying to fix who you were, He's revealing who you are. And that revelation is shaking everything false to the surface. The lies you told yourself to cope, I'm fine, it doesn't matter, I'm not enough, are being exposed to the light. Truth is not coming to shame you, but to set you free. Sometimes, freedom feels like falling apart. You may weep without knowing why. You may feel disconnected from people, from places, even from parts of yourself that used to feel safe. But that disconnection is sacred. It's heaven severing you from what cannot survive in the next version of your destiny. The old you was built on reaction. The new you will be built on revelation. You used to move from pain, now you will move from purpose. You used to live for validation, now you live for vision. The line between the two versions of you is drawn in this very season, and heaven stands witness as you cross it. You might not even notice the change at first. It doesn't arrive with thunder, it arrives with peace. The way you see people shifts. The way you respond to conflict becomes calmer. The words that used to wound you lose their power. That's how you know the old you is fading. Heaven has begun its quiet replacement work inside you. Do not mourn the version of yourself that's leaving. It served its purpose. It kept you alive long enough to reach this transformation. Thank it. Release it. And step forward. Because the new you isn't just stronger, it's softer. Not naive, but compassionate. Not impulsive, but anchored. You've learned how to walk with both power and grace. Heaven celebrates this silent victory. Angels rejoice, not when crowds applaud, but when hearts surrender. The battle within you has been long, but every struggle was sacred. The tearing you felt lately is heaven separating strength from striving. The you that once fought to be seen is now content to be chosen. This confrontation with the old self is not an ending, it's a return. You are being restored to the version of you that existed in heaven's imagination before the world told you who to be. The cracks you see in your armor are not weakness, they're places where light is finally leaking through. Chosen one. This sacred breaking is birthing a new sound within you, a stillness that doesn't depend on control, a joy that doesn't need applause, a peace that doesn't need explanation. You have wrestled with your own shadow long enough. The dawn has come. Look at you. You are still standing, still believing, still chosen. The old you tried to protect your heart by hardening it. The new you protects it by trusting heaven. What once felt like loss now feels like liberation. The false self fades quietly, and in its place, the true one rises whole, holy, and free. Heaven repeats messages not to nag, but to nurture transformation. The echo that chased you was grace refusing to let you die in disguise. And now that you've faced the old you without flinching, heaven whispers, "Well done." Okay, this confrontation was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal the masterpiece hidden beneath the mask. Chosen one. Before the dawn of every divine shift, there is always silence, an aching, holy, quiet, that feels like distance, but is actually preparation. You stand now in that silence. It wraps around you like night, but not to hide you, to heal you. The noise of the past season has ended, and in its place comes a stillness so deep it almost feels like loss. But do not fear it. This is the silence before the shift. Heaven is teaching you the sacred rhythm of waiting, not the passive kind, but the powerful stillness that builds strength beneath the surface. Like a seed buried in darkness, you are being transformed in secret. No one can see the roots stretching downward, but heaven does. The unseen work is always the most essential. The prophet David once wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 7, "Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." That verse was not written from comfort. It was written from tension, from the waiting space between promise and manifestation, the place where heaven whispers, "Do nothing rash, I am still at work." You, too, are in that space now. There is a unique pressure in divine silence. Your mind races, trying to interpret what heaven is doing. You replay past decisions, question whether you missed a sign, wonder if you did something wrong. But silence is not punishment, it's proof of progress. When heaven grows quiet, it means the instructions have already been given, and now the performance has begun. Think of a theater before the curtain rises. The audience murmurs, the lights dim, and for a brief moment, everything stops. That stillness isn't emptiness, it's anticipation. The actors are already in place. The next scene is already written. That's where you are. Chosen one, between the final line of one act and the opening of the next. The silence feels heavy because it's full of movement you cannot see, full of answers forming beneath the surface, full of alignments being prepared while you rest. If heaven told you everything happening right now in the unseen, your heart would not be able to contain the wonder of it. You have mistaken inactivity for inaction, but they are not the same. Heaven often does its greatest work in the pauses. Creation itself began in silence, the kind that hovered over the waters before light was spoken. You are in that same silence now, the breath before the new begins. Chosen one, do not rush this sacred quiet. Many run from it, mistaking it for abandonment. But silence is where the voice of God becomes pure. In the noise, you hear instruction. In the silence, you receive identity. Noise tells you what to do. Silence reminds you who you are. It is in this stillness that heaven refines your perception. You begin to see without needing proof, to trust without needing reason, to believe without needing results. This is not blindness, it's spiritual sight, maturing. You are learning to feel God's nearness even when He doesn't speak. You are also being stripped of distractions. People who once filled your space may drift away. The plans that once excited you may lose their color. It will feel like loss, but it's simply clarity. Heaven removes noise when it wants to amplify truth. The silence before the shift has purpose. It's heaven's way of synchronizing your steps with its timing. If the promise came too early, you'd mishandle it. If too late, you'd despair. But this silence is the calibration point, the exact moment where your spirit aligns perfectly with destiny's rhythm. And when heaven moves again, you will not have to chase it. You will flow with it. The silence trains you to hear beyond sound, to move when God breathes, not when the world shouts. That's why this stillness feels sacred. It's the space where faith matures from theory into instinct. Chosen one. The stillness is not forever. Soon, you will sense the shift, soft at first, like wind brushing your spirit, then stronger, like waves carrying you forward. The very stillness that unsettles you now will soon become your strength. You will realize that heaven was never still. It was simply aligning everything so that when movement comes, nothing will be missing. So rest. The pause is not the end, it's the prelude. Heaven is not ignoring you, it's composing you. Every breath you take in this silence is a note in heaven's hidden symphony. Let peace fill what uncertainty left empty. Let trust settle where fear once lived. The silence before the shift is heaven's final proof that something is about to break open. And when it does, you'll know the waiting was never wasted. It was worship. Chosen one. You were never meant to blend in. Heaven didn't design you for camouflage. It designed you for contrast. You've tried to shrink yourself to fit, to dim your light, so others would feel comfortable. But light was never created to apologize for shining. You are different by design, and heaven takes no issue with that difference. It celebrates it. Every storm you've endured, every rejection you've faced, every room that felt too small, those weren't failures. They were confirmations. The world cannot contain what heaven has crowned. And that crown, invisible though it may be, has drawn both favor and friction toward you. But even friction serves purpose. It shapes the diamond. The Spirit reminds us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. There it is, the declaration you needed to remember. You were never meant to hide your flame. You were meant to stand where others can see the glow of heaven in your life. You are a signal fire, guiding wanderers home, even if they don't yet know who you are. And though the journey has been lonely, it has not been empty. Every tear has watered purpose. Every loss has refined your light. Heaven has been polishing you in secret for a time when the world would need the kind of authenticity only you can bring. But now that the time is here, the question remains, will you keep your light under the table? Or will you lift it where others can find warmth? This is where your small act of faith becomes sacred movement. When you like, when you share, when you comment, when you subscribe, you're not just engaging, you're echoing. Each gesture becomes a spark that carries the message farther, reaching souls who didn't even know they were listening for it. You become the hands that hold the flame higher. And when you choose to donate, when you give with sincerity, you aren't fueling a screen, you're fueling salvation stories waiting to unfold. You're pouring oil into lamps across the world. Imagine this: each word, each video, each message is like a lantern hanging in the dark. But every lantern needs oil to burn. Your generosity becomes that oil. It keeps the light alive when night falls for someone else. Think of the widow's jar in Scripture. It never ran dry because she gave from the little she had. Giving doesn't deplete, it multiplies. The same way fire doesn't weaken when shared, generosity never diminishes what you have, it transforms it. When you sow into light, you harvest more light in your life. And when you comment beneath these messages, it's not about visibility, it's about vulnerability. It's a way of saying, "This reached me." Your words become a bridge for someone else's healing. They remind others that they are not alone in their journey. Sometimes, heaven uses your simple sentence to pull someone back from despair. Never underestimate that power. Chosen one. Your engagement is more than digital, it's devotional. Every time you interact, you are saying to heaven, "I will not hide what you've done in me." You're becoming part of a divine chorus, a wave of awakened hearts who refuse to stay silent while darkness speaks loud. Your life is not a solo song, it's part of heaven's symphony. The more you help others hear the melody, the louder heaven's glory becomes on earth. The second message wasn't just meant to touch you, it was meant to move through you. You are both messenger and mission. Think of it this way: when you light one candle from another, both flames burn just as bright. The more light you share, the more the world changes. So, as you engage here by liking, sharing, subscribing, giving, and speaking, you're lighting more candles, turning single sparks into sunrise. Your participation keeps this divine current flowing. These words travel through networks and nations, carrying whispers of hope to hearts who believe heaven has forgotten them. But heaven hasn't, and neither have you. So, let your small actions become sacred ones. Let your share be a seed. Let your generosity be oil. Let your engagement be incense. Heaven counts every act of alignment. You were never called to blend in. Chosen one. You were called to stand out, to stand firm, to stand radiant. Every time you carry this message forward, you prove that light still wins. And when you do, heaven smiles because it sees one of its brightest lamps standing tall, shining not for applause, but for purpose. Chosen one. Do you know what happens when one obedient heart says yes to heaven? Chains fall in places you've never been. Light breaks through rooms you will never enter. The echo of your obedience becomes the freedom song of strangers. Your yes carries weight beyond your comprehension. For obedience is never personal, it is generational. When you move in alignment, heaven multiplies the effect. The unseen world listens. Angels respond. Even creation sighs in relief, as if saying, "Finally, someone heard." Because heaven's plans are woven through human participation, your response becomes the hinge on which destinies turn. You might think your small acts of faith don't matter, but they do. Every prayer whispered in secret, every tear cried in trust, every moment you resisted, giving up all of it has created ripples that heaven is now using to reach others. You are not just walking your journey, you are paving a path for those who will follow. It was written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 10. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and love shown to others. Heaven keeps record of every unseen effort. Nothing you've endured, nothing you've given, nothing you've sacrificed in love is forgotten. The world may overlook you, but heaven archives you. Every act of obedience becomes eternal evidence of your faith. You may not see it, but your obedience is already unlocking doors in other lives. Somewhere, Someone is watching how you stand in storms. They draw courage from your resilience, strength from your peace. They might never say your name, but they are being changed by your example. That's how heaven works, through multiplication of obedience. One light sparks another. One yes births 100 more. The miracles you've been praying for might not all appear in your life. Some will manifest in those connected to you. That's the mystery and beauty of being chosen. Your reward is not only personal, it's generational. Chosen one. Obedience is the language of legacy. Every yes to heaven plants a tree whose shade you may never sit under, but others will. And when they do, they will rest beneath branches you grew through endurance. Your story is no longer just yours. The struggles that shaped you are becoming lessons for others. The healing that came through pain will now flow through you as hope. The wisdom carved by waiting will become guidance for those lost in delay. You are heaven's conduit, a living river of restoration for the world around you. The burden you once carried is now being transformed into blessing. The same tears that watered your sorrow will soon water someone's salvation. That's how divine exchange works. Heaven wastes nothing. Pain becomes prophecy. Struggle becomes strength. And the places where you were once broken become places where others are rebuilt. You may not feel powerful, but the unseen realm knows your name. Heaven calls you deliverer, not because you rescue with might, but because you rescue with endurance. You refuse to quit. And that refusal has already broken patterns in your bloodline, shattered curses in your family, and rewritten stories that were meant to end in failure. This is why your yes matters so deeply. Every time you choose faith over fear, love over bitterness, trust over doubt, you realign the map of destiny for others who will walk behind you. You're not just changing your life, you're altering the flow of history. The second message from heaven returned to you because your obedience carries more than personal weight. It carries generational consequence. The repetition was never only about you hearing, it was about heaven, ensuring others would through you. And that's why the battle has been so fierce. The enemy has always feared your obedience more than your anointing. Anointing marks you, but obedience moves you. Every time you obey, the plans of darkness collapse a little more. Chosen one. This is your inheritance, to become a living doorway. You are the proof that one yielded, life can change everything. Your obedience is not just unlocking blessings, it's unlocking people. Those who are weary will walk through the doors your faith has opened. Those who are blind will find vision through the path your persistence has cleared. You may never see all the fruit of your obedience this side of eternity, but heaven sees it already. You will stand one day and watch the harvest unfold. Souls restored, hearts healed, nations stirred, and you will understand that every yes, every tear, every unseen prayer was never wasted. Your obedience, chosen one, is the sound of heaven touching earth. And long after you're gone, that sound will continue to echo. Chosen one. This is the moment where the echo quiets, where the repetition finds its rest. Heaven has spoken twice, and now the final word stands before you, not as a sound, but as stillness. You have heard it, felt it, resisted it, obeyed it, and now you become it. For what began as message has turned into manifestation. This is the last repetition, not because heaven has grown silent, but because it no longer needs to convince you. The message has done its work. The seed has taken root. The reminder has become revelation. And revelation has become rhythm in your soul. You no longer chase the word, you carry it. Heaven's repetition was always mercy disguised as urgency. It spoke again because destiny refused to move on without you. You were never one among many. You were the one heaven waited for. And now that you've answered, heaven can proceed. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak, it all makes sense now. Doesn't it? The pattern you couldn't read has become clear. In hindsight, what once felt random was orchestration. What once looked like loss was strategy. Heaven's fingerprints were on every fragment of your story. The second message came because the first one deserved fulfillment. And heaven will never start what it doesn't intend to finish. It is written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. 9. Those words are not distant, they are yours. You have reached the open door, and though you feel weary, heaven counts that weakness as worship. For faith is not measured by strength, it is measured by endurance. The fact that you're still here, still reading, still believing, is evidence that you never truly gave up. The open door doesn't announce itself with noise, it waits quietly, like a sunrise. It's been there all along, but only now do you have the eyes to see it. That's what this repetition was, for to sharpen your sight, to teach your spirit the difference between almost and arrival. Chosen one. You stand at the edge of fulfillment, yet you are calm. That's how heaven knows you're ready. Excitement has given way to understanding. The hunger that once made you restless now makes you reverent. You have matured beyond asking when and have begun to ask how you can serve in what's coming next. That's growth. That's transformation. This is the moment where the story turns from restoration to responsibility. The message that found you twice has completed its mission. It has made you aware, awake, and aligned. The next chapter will not begin with noise. It will begin with quiet confidence. You are no longer waiting for confirmation. You are the confirmation. The second message wasn't about giving you something new. It was about reminding you of what you've always carried. Now heaven says, go forward, not as one who waits, but as one who knows. For the chosen do not wander. They walk in rhythm with the divine. There is peace in this knowing. You no longer wrestle with uncertainty. You no longer need constant reassurance. The same voice that repeated itself has now settled inside you. It will guide you wordlessly, like the pull of the tide, like breath in the lungs. You won't always hear it in thunder. Sometimes you'll feel it in stillness, and that will be enough. Heaven's repetition has ended because understanding has begun. The first call awakened you, the second secured you. This final whisper commissions you. You are not the seeker anymore, you are the messenger. The echo will now come through you, not to you. Look around your life. Chosen one. Everything that once seemed broken now forms a pattern of beauty. The people who left made space for purpose. The doors that closed kept you on course. The pain that nearly ended you has become the power that sustains you. Nothing was wasted. Heaven doesn't waste repetition, and it certainly doesn't waste obedience. So, breathe deeply. Feel the shift in your spirit. You've crossed from reminder into reality. You've gone from waiting for signs to becoming one. Heaven's voice has settled inside you, like fire, quiet, steady, eternal. You no longer need another message, because you have become the message. When others meet you, they will hear the same echo that once pursued you. They'll see the light that once found you. And in that moment, heaven's repetition will continue, not as words from above, but as witness through your life. This is the last time heaven will need to say it, because now you live it. The message has become flesh in you. The chosen have become the carriers of the call. You, chosen one, are heaven's answered prayer. Chosen one. If these words found you, it wasn't coincidence, it was confirmation. Heaven repeats only when something eternal is at stake. And now that you've heard, you are part of the echo. This journey wasn't just about listening, it was about becoming. You are no longer wandering in search of a word, you are walking as the word fulfilled. If this message has stirred something in you, if even one sentence reminded you that you are not forgotten, then let that gratitude move. Like this message, not for vanity, but as your amen. Share it, not for numbers, but for souls who need to hear that heaven still speaks. Comment below what resonated most with you, because your story may be the bridge to someone else's awakening. And if your heart feels led, subscribe, not to a channel, but to a calling to stay connected to every whisper heaven continues to release through this space. Let this be the moment you help light move forward. The message reached you because heaven trusted you to carry it. Now carry it well. The echo has ended. The assignment begins.